Obviously, Bo is a very important piece of what you do. How does it feel to not have him?
Not good, you know. I mean, I don't really know how to answer the question. Bo's kind of like, he's our inspirational guy, and the way he plays so many different places for us. He became the returner, he's the off guy, you know, he does so many things. So, you know, disappointing not having him. The way he played all year, now getting to this point where we're in the playoffs and he can go, you know, do what he's been doing, and makes a big play last week, you know, on the big punt. So it's not good not having him. I feel worse for him than I do for the rest of us, for what he puts into this and the spirit and the energy that he brings to us. So he'll be missed for sure.
Whelan ending the season with the top punting average in the league. What just impressed you the most about the season he's had week in, week out?
Well, again, I just think we've talked about him a bunch in here. You know, he's an ascending player. He works extremely hard at it. And he takes advantage of the ops that he gets. You know, we haven't punted a lot this year, so he's been in different positions. And I think the thing he does a really good job of as we get going through a game is where is he on the field and what kind of punt does he want to hit. And then, you know, talking about Bo, and when we had Zane, and I thought we had some really good cover guys, you know, playing on the outside for him. And I thought our punt unit inside has done a good job protecting him and giving him confidence that he can put the ball where he wants. But I still think he's an ascending player. I still think he's got room to grow. And if he keeps working the way he's been working, hopefully this will be a consistency in which he plays with. It'll be a level that he plays with for a long time.
Even with the room that he still has to grow, it just seems kind of shocking given the conditions that a punter has to encounter kicking outdoors late in the season in Green Bay to lead the league in punting. I mean, is that something that you thought was attainable given the team and the environment, or how?
Well, yeah, we've talked about that before. When the organization made a decision to, you know, to give him the new contract, I think the thing that was impressive for him is the way he played in November, December, and January in difficult weather conditions that we play in, whether it's here, Chicago, Philly, you know, all those different venues that we play in late in the year. He's produced and he's played well in those different weather conditions, and I think that was organizationally part of the thing that impressed them and impressed all of us, that he's going to keep getting better and better and better. I think that's the direction he's going in.
You ever had the league's leading punter?
What's that?
Have you ever had the league's leading punter?
You know, I have this thing about Gross. You know, Gross kind of gets you to the Pro Bowl, but Net gets you to the Super Bowl. And I've been fortunate to be around some really good punters, but he's a special player.
How many times have you used that line?
I don't know. I use it with them more than I use it with you people. So, not that you people's a bad thing, but you guys.
You talked about learning when to hit each ball. I believe you said something along those lines a second ago. Is that up to him, or is that like a quick discussion on the sideline between you guys when he goes out there? What
all of the above. You know, we go through the week, and we're the scripts on Wednesday and the scripts on Friday are all over the field, right? Backed up, red zone, field punts, 20s, you know, wherever we are on the field. And then as we're going into the film work, you know, he's talking about what he'd like to hit here and what I think he could hit here. And then we get to pregame, and he's figuring out the wind and the direction and what he'd like to hit going different ways and where on the field in the red zone he'd like to hit some of those different punts. We've talked about it in here at length about the guys that hit fat balls and flops and all those different things that make it difficult to catch. And last week, our guy let the ball hit the ground twice, and their guy let the ball hit the ground, I think, twice. So those things can be difficult to catch at times. They're all getting so talented in doing different types of kicks, different styles of kicks, and it's just where you are on the field deciding what you want to actually hit.
Hey, Rich, it's always next man up, right? And Matt always says nobody's going to feel sorry for you. But you just mentioned you lost Zane, you lost Bo. We know how important special teams are in postseason. So who do you have that you feel like can elevate to kind of help you fill those voids? Because you're not going to have those guys.
Well, we hope to get Nick back. You know, we'll see what happened. He's been elevated and back to practicing a little bit, and so we'll see what that looks like. You know, we've gotten Van Ness back. That's been good for us. I know his role on defense has also increased, and you know, JJ's been a stalwart for us, you know, for the year. So we'll see what some of the younger guys do that got a chance to run around last week a little bit, and they may get a chance again this week to see how they can help us in the game. But You know, next man up is always the philosophy. You know, sometimes the next man up just doesn't look like the guy that went down, you know, but the expectations and the standards really don't change. I think we've done a good job here of the way in which we practice, and we've put guys in position. I know we've talked about that before, that if they do have to come up and play, hopefully they've gotten enough reps on the show team that they're going to be put in position that they've been working at as time's gone on, and hopefully they can compete and play well for us.
Neiman missed 10 games, I think, and he's still got 11 tackles.
Who we talking about now?
Neiman?
Yeah, we talked about that last week, right? The number of tackles. I think I said we have 5 guys in double-digit tackles. And again, he's a smart guy. He can play a lot of different places on the kickoff for us. He understands the system. Can play a lot of different places in the punt box for us. He's been a personal protector before as well, and so hopefully he's up. We'll see what happens for the rest of the week.
Rich, we've talked about how good you feel about the battery, but Brandon did face adversity this year, right? How good is it, in your experience, to have a guy who's been there, done that, when the postseason starts in that spot?
Yeah, great question. We do feel good about the battery, and you know, I think the battery hasn't been an issue. You know, obviously, Brandon going through an injury, him thinking he could come back maybe quicker than he actually did come back, right? We've had those conversations in here. So we talked about where he is now psychologically. You know, he's got the crap back in his neck, and he's got his attitude back, and he's got his personality back. So I think you've seen that. You know, at Chicago last time, we kicked a 48-yard PAT. You know, in a little bit of a difficult climate down there. And so I think that's really who he is right now. To your point, I think he has tremendous confidence in the way in which, you know, Daniel holds the football and getting it the right lean and the things that he needs to be successful. And then, you know, I've talked about Matt before. Matt's just kind of a calming force. Doesn't always look perfect from the sideline, but, you know, you play the game with your head between your legs and see how good you play. So I do think having a battery that's been together for a little while on a consistent basis is good for us, and I think the trust that they have for each other, the way in which they practice, is a good thing, hopefully, for the Packers.
Rich, what's it like for you pre-game, Saturday night at Soldier Field, you know, in January? Do you have like a checklist of things that you're going to ask Brandon and determining wind directions and, you know, those kinds of issues that may come up during the game that'll play into your decisions?
Yeah, you know, I'd say checklist is a great comment, but it's more about, you'll see, you know, who gets there early, but Brandon goes out pretty early. The majority of Brandon's kicks are done in pregame for him. We have a certain set we do on a Wednesday and a certain set we do on a Friday, and then for him, he likes to kick a lot in pregame. So he kind of goes out there twice. He goes out there on his own, and he gets a good feel for what he thinks the wind is doing and the conditions of the field and what it looks like on the hashes. You know, the ball's in the same spot for a PAT all the time, so what does it look like where you're going to actually put your plant foot and kick it? He'll go both ways, and then Daniel comes out a little bit later to start punting, but he gets a bunch of punts in as well before we actually start the battery of snap, hold, and kick, or the battery of snap and punt. And so when they're done with all that, I'll take some notes from Brandon about his thoughts, one way or the other, and where we'd like to start if we get the choice, where we'd like to get it in the second half if it goes that way as well. So, yes, to your point, there's a checklist that they go through, and for me, it's just I'm gathering information after watching them and then talking to the both of them.
Are they checking wind at halftime, after halftime? Is that what, or are they just warming up?
No, they're doing it. You'll see them. You know, both teams, punters and kickers, come out early in the second half, and they're getting a feel for what it's like, you know, that way as well. So you get a choice, right? Whether you won it or lost it, now you get a choice on the second half. You're usually going to take the ball if you lost it, but it does have a factor in these types of games, in these places. You know, the wind is a factor.